Welcome to Passport to Terror, Philippines Edition 2. Picture, if you will, a world not so different from our own, where the lines between the living and the dead shift like shadows in the moonlight. A place where a simple photograph, a silent staircase, or an abandoned property can open the door to things beyond our comprehension. In tonight's presentation, we explore 4 unsettling tales of apparitions and encounters with the unknown. Stories that remind us that what lurks just beyond our sight may not be as far away as we think. You are about to travel to the unknown using your passport to terror. Story 1. The Picture Frame.
I always believed in ghosts. The idea of encountering one filled me with a strange mix of fear and excitement. I longed to experience the thrill that others described when they spoke of their supernatural encounters. Yet, I never considered myself someone with the ability to see or feel spirits. I didn't have a third eye, as they call it. That was until the night everything changed. My first encounter with the supernatural happened when my ex-boyfriend and I were hanging out at my house. He had always claimed to have the third eye, the ability to see and communicate with spirits. We were deep in conversation about his experiences when suddenly the picture frame on the wall crashed to the ground. It wasn't just a simple fall. It was as if an invisible hand had yanked it off the wall. The fan was off, and there was no wind strong enough to cause such a thing. My heart raced as I turned to him, my eyes wide with questions. He simply bowed his head and told me to stay inside. He stepped outside and I could hear him talking to someone, though I saw no one. When he returned, he explained that a spirit had followed him to my house, a white lady who had become jealous of me. The encounter left me shaken, but it wasn't over. An hour after he left, I began to feel an unnatural coldness enveloping my body. My mother covered me with blankets, but no amount of warmth could chase away the chill. I texted my boyfriend and he instructed me to wear something with a cross or an image of God. I grabbed a rosary from the altar and draped it around my neck. Slowly the coldness subsided, replaced by a sudden intense heat. Sweat dripped from my face as I called him back, relieved. That's when he revealed the horrifying truth. The white lady had touched me as they left the house, but the story doesn't end there. Weeks later, I began to notice strange occurrences in my home. Objects would move on their own, and I would hear faint whispers in the dead of night. One evening, as I was brushing my teeth, I caught a glimpse of a pale figure in the mirror behind me. It was her, the white lady. Her hollow eyes stared into mine, and her lips curled into a sinister smile. I froze, unable to move or scream. The lights flickered, and when they steadied, she was gone. From that day on, I refused to let my boyfriend open my third eye. I realized that some things are better left unseen.
Story 2. Pretty Lady in White.
My family has always had a connection to the paranormal. My grandfather could see and communicate with spirits. My father could feel their presence, and I inherited the same ability. As a child, I didn't understand why others couldn't see what was right in front of me. My first encounter happened when I was just 2 or 3 years old. We lived in a rental house in Cebu City, a bustling area where no one would expect supernatural occurrences. But they happened. I was a mischievous child, always running around during meal times. One day, as I darted through the house, I saw a beautiful lady in a white dress standing at the top of the staircase. Her face was blurred, as if covered by a mist, but I could sense her beauty. She smiled at me, her hand beckoning me to come closer. I told my nanny, but she dismissed it as my imagination. This happened repeatedly over the months. Sometimes, while watching TV, I would see her smiling at me, her hand gesturing for me to follow. I always shook my head, and she would disappear. The most vivid memory I have of her was when I was playing with my toy cars in the receiving room. I looked up and saw her sitting on the stairs, calling me. Fear gripped me, and I ran outside. When I peeked back inside, she was still there, smiling. I tried to run to the kitchen, but I froze in place. I couldn't move or scream. She began to ascend the stairs, and I felt an overwhelming sense of dread. The next thing I knew, I woke up in the hospital. My parents told me I had a convulsion, but I knew it was her. She had tried to take me with her. Years later, when I was in the 5th grade, I saw her again. We had moved to a new house, and one night, I woke up feeling restless. I felt drawn to the window and saw her standing in the backyard, smiling up at me. She looked exactly the same, ageless, beautiful, and terrifying. She beckoned me again, but this time I knew better. I knew she wasn't from this world, and going with her would mean my end. But the encounters didn't stop. Even as an adult, I sometimes feel her presence. Once, while staying at a hotel, I woke up to find her standing at the foot of my bed, her hand outstretched. I screamed, and the lights flickered on. She was gone, but the chill in the room remained. I've come to accept that she will always be a part of my life, a reminder that the veil between our world and the next is thinner than we think.
Story 3. The Realtor.
The house in Alabang City was supposed to be a dream home. It had everything: a main family house, a dance hall, and even a tea room perched on a cliff. The price was unbelievably low, and the realtor assured us it was a steal. We moved in quickly, unaware of the horrors that awaited us. The hauntings began a month after we settled in. My mother saw a woman floating across the lawn, her legs missing. My father witnessed black figures darting through the hallways. The maids, or yayas as we called them, were tormented by voices calling their names. One night, my sister and I were in our bedroom when the TV turned on and off by itself. The doors began to open and close, and we were rushed out of the room by our terrified parents. Desperate for answers, my father confronted the realtor. After much pressure, she revealed the house's dark history. The previous owner had gone on a shooting spree, killing his entire family before taking his own life. The house was cheap because it was cursed. We moved out within a month, but the memories of that house still haunt me. Years later, I decided to revisit the house, now abandoned and overgrown with vegetation. As I walked through the decaying rooms, I felt a presence following me. In the tea room, I saw a shadowy figure sitting by the window. It turned to face me, and I recognized the man from the realtor's story. His eyes were hollow, and his mouth twisted into a grimace. I ran out of the house, vowing never to return. But sometimes, in my dreams, I find myself back in that house. The man waiting for me in the tea room, his voice whispering, "Welcome home."
Story 4. The Crippled.
My grandmother's house was a paradise, with a pool, tennis courts, and all the modern amenities one could ask for. But there was one thing that didn't fit: an old 1980s cabinet in the living room. When I asked about it, my grandmother said she had bought it from an antique shop. Little did I know, it carried a dark secret. During my stay, I began to hear loud thuds at night. At first, I thought it was the workers renovating the house next door. But one night, the sounds came from inside the house. I followed the noise to the living room and saw something that still haunts me to this day. An old woman, drenched in blood, was dragging herself across the floor. Her body was twisted, her bones jutting out at unnatural angles. She had no eyes, only a blue light emanating from her empty sockets. She cried out for help, her voice a guttural whisper. I ran to the maid's quarters and woke everyone up. When we returned, the floor was spotless. The next day, my grandmother and I returned the cabinet to the antique shop. The vendor told us the previous owner, an old woman, had disappeared under mysterious circumstances. Some said she was murdered, but no one knew for sure. Years later, I heard rumors that the old woman still haunted the cabinet. People claimed to see her curled up inside, her bloody hands reaching out for help. One night, as I was unpacking a new cabinet in my own home, I heard a faint scratching sound. I opened the door and saw her, the same old woman, her hollow eyes staring into mine. She whispered, "Help me," before vanishing. I sold the cabinet the next day, but I know she's still out there, waiting for someone to set her free.
Four stories, four glimpses into a realm where fear steps out of the shadows and holds our hand in the darkness. A photograph torn from the wall by unseen fingers. A lovely lady in white who beckons from the shadows. A family's dream home cursed by tragic memories. And a relic from the past, harboring a lost, tormented soul. Each tale a reminder that sometimes the things that go bump in the night may indeed be reaching out from places unknown. When the clock strikes midnight and the chill run down your spine, remember that not all doors stay closed. Thank you for joining us on these journeys into the inexplicable, into the mysterious corners of the human mind, and into the shadows of the passport to terror.